post Nirbhaya, there have been some amendments to the Juvenile Justice Act, that is in 2015. India now has a system of juvenile transfer that allows for juvenile transfer, wherein adolescents between 16 and 18 years were they to engage in certain what are termed heinous offences, of which sexual engagement and abuse is one, may actually be transferred to the adult criminal justice system and be tried in that system as opposed to the juvenile justice system. However, in order to be transferred and for this decision on transfer to be made, there are certain criteria. An adolescent needs to be assessed in terms of mental capacity, the circumstances of the offence, sexual offence perhaps in this instance, and whether the child understands the consequences of his or her offence. If you look at these criteria that the Juvenile Justice Act has prescribed for evaluating a child and making decisions on transfer, you look at it in the context of adolescents with developmental disabilities such as intellectual disability, such as a child who's on the autism spectrum. In case of children like this, they cannot be said to have the mental capacity to make the kind of social judgment and social decision that is required in situations such as this. In other words, they do not have the capacity. Even a child with attentional deficit hyperactive disorder or ADHD, because an essential characteristic of ADHD is that these kids really lack social judgment. They're impulsive and do not think through the consequences of something that they do. So in a situation like this, children with disability cannot be viewed through any sort of criminal lens. And if any of you as caregivers, as teachers, as special educators find yourself in a situation where you have an adolescent with disability and who is engaged in a sexual offence, you must contact a mental health professional for a developmental assessment that can be presented to the law enforcement agency to say that this child did not really have the mental capacity or the cognitive capacity to understand the consequences of his or her offences, and therefore they cannot either be transferred or criminalized in any manner whatsoever. Shekhar?
Our position on this is also fairly clear. Whether it is a sexual offence or any kind of offence, whether it is a child or an adolescent with disability or not, no child should be transferred. We have enough provision in the Juvenile Justice Act, whether it is diversion or whether it is place of safety in some instances, but in this instance, assessment of intellectual ability and therefore training and sensitization of an adolescent with intellectual disability who may have engaged in this act to understand, as we spoke earlier about the context of relationships, of privacy, of boundaries, of the impact on the other. There are many methods that one uses so that there is safety both to the self and to any other who may be involved in this context. So there is enough provision there, and our position on this is fairly clear.
So the response to adolescents in such situations, whether, as Dr. Shekhar says, with developmental disabilities or without, lies in engaging these children in personal safety and awareness programs so that they understand how to express their sexual needs and desires in ways that are safe, that are healthy, that are responsible, and that do no harm to others.
So on this occasion of International Day of Disabled Persons, friends, from Sheila and the rest of the SAMVAD team, thank you very much for your attention. Namaste.